I've been on a bit of a spending spree recently because I wanted to make some changes to how I work, and this is going to be a very critical part moving forward. Before you is laid out all of the components to build a test bench for putting a motherboard out in the open, and I had the idea that I want to do that with a vintage computer so I can easily swap around parts and try things out. So today, we're going to be putting that together and seeing how well that works out. Now, this is something I've actually been trying to do for over a year by using this Inwin A500 case. Like the Q500 I built my Windows 98 PC in, this case has a removable motherboard tray. But short cables made that less practical than I anticipated, and this case has a single-piece exterior, not individual side panels, so it's really not a good fit for a test system. But I had parts in it that I'm going to pull out so we can use some of them for the new build. One thing of particular interest may be a new AT power supply I have in this that you can still get for about $45 on eBay. I decided to do a second channel video about opening it and talking about how it has worked out for me because I've had it for a while now. Next, I really thought I was going to use this motherboard with a Cyrix 686 and later an 8-bit 8088 clone, but I ended up changing motherboard plans a lot throughout this build because each of them had some physical limitations that aren't great for a test bench. So the motherboards are going to change a few times throughout this build. All right, let's start getting back to the test bench kit here. So this is just a raw kit. They bought off eBay for like $60 or $70 shipped. Comes with a bunch of 2020 aluminum extruded pieces that you build the frame out of, which I really like because I'm probably going to be modifying this thing heavily. I really don't care what is in the manual because putting this thing's pretty simple. So it's just T-slots and nuts, weird shapes. So I don't really care. I don't want this thing to be horizontally proportioned. I'm going to try and put posts sticking down and have it be like a true desktop style. Now, I'm really kind of excited about this one for two reasons. This exact kit, which I guess I will link below. I don't know if I'm going to be endorsing it yet. So if there's some horrible reason that I don't like it, then that'll be why it's not linked below. But there are a couple of reasons why I picked this one. It comes with two of these brackets. Now, some of them come with really long screws you put in. I wasn't particularly thrilled with that because I just like the idea of having the plates for the vintage cards to press up against. These don't have the little slot in the bottom where the tab is supposed to go, so that's a little disappointing. But I do like that it has this piece, because I'm going to probably mount this somewhere else and put some of those blank filler brackets that'll hold like the serial and parallel ports, because those don't exist on an AT motherboard. You're supposed to put those in the case. This doesn't have those, so having this extra one that's meant for an M-ATX board, I'm going to mount that somewhere on the bottom, probably have those poking out. It's going to be super handy to not have to 3D print something, which this is obviously rife with potential for. The other thing for this particular kit, a lot of these will ship this piece made out of acrylic, which it does come with some acrylic bits. This will not be going on my case. I can drop that on the floor, but this also won't most likely be going on the case because this is meant to hold an ATX power switch, and like I'd already shown, I'm going to be using an AT style one, and I'm not drilling holes in acrylic because I'm most likely just going to crack it. So really happy. This is the power supply mount. So it goes on the back here, only holds it on with two screws, which is that how it goes? Or does it go the other way? I think it goes the other way. There we go. That doesn't fit because of this. Cool. So I get to cut that off. Well, this is aluminum, so that'll cut off pretty easily, but I don't want this to be made out of acrylic because this is heavy relative to some of the other things here. So yeah, I'm happy about that being metal. I'm not thrilled about that little tab there, but I can make do. All right, here's what I'm thinking. So we have two really long pieces, and these are supposed to be the vertical uprights, the main pieces that you use to put this thing together. We have four of these internal pieces. Three of these are meant to go between these two, and then this one goes at the bottom as a cross member for the legs. So we have four of those that are the same length. These two are meant to be the actual legs that keep this upright, and they're slightly shorter than those two. And then this third one is in there. I don't know why. It goes in the middle. I mean, when you look at the way this thing is built here, it's meant to go in the middle, in the back, which is just kind of idiotic. I have no idea why you'd bother with that. If these two aren't enough to hold up your whole computer, I don't think this is the thing that's going to solve that problem. So, no idea what I'm going to do with that, but I'll put that off to the side. Now, the two that go in here, or the three that go in here, would go in like that and widen this out, and then you'd put your board on it, and we can see how that would work out. It's not bad. That would fit. However, if I put one of the shorter ones in the middle and bring it all slightly closer together, the board does actually hang off over the front, but that's not really an issue. And then I would have 4 equal length parts to use as the legs and put it in my desktop orientation. So I think I'm gonna do that because I can't find any reason to not. I mean, even this thing will fit perfectly fine like that. So that should be totally an option. All right, let's start figuring out how this is going to go together. First off, I want to put a motherboard on here so I can start getting the spacing right. So let's slide. Actually, these can move. I don't need to put a board in here first. I'll leave them loose for now, because if I'm going to use these as the width portion, that is, yeah, those are both the long ones, then I'll actually need to move those so I can figure out where this needs to be. Yeah, that's it. Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, that one's already torn. All right, and then this one. Okay, so let's figure out how I want to put these in here. I'm going to go ahead and put the ones that are meant for the horizontal or vertical stabilizers there. And I can put them in like that. Yeah, that'll work. The nature of how this goes together just means that it's inherently fiddly, so I don't really mind this. It's just something you got to expect when you're using something like 2020 aluminum. Or just extruded aluminum rails, really. That's already feeling really good. Those are the double strength ones. The other side's just going to get these, and I'm only going to put one on each side because I don't need to waste a whole bunch of those. I'm just going to put it at the end. Here, you can't see it. This sticks out towards the end, so I'm just going to make that flush. How about that? And that's probably the best compromise here. And there we go. Oh, that is so strong. That's so ridiculously strong for a computer frame. Wow. Okay, so these are longer than those. Cool. Oh, this would go here. And then, okay, all right, I'm on to you. Fine. Okay. So, that will be the front. That's the back. I am liking this. Okay, so now for the uprights. The cool thing about this is that in the back, I will be able to put the power supply under it and have it like that. Wow, I have so much height. Look at that. That's crazy. Well, I could have... Wow. I probably don't want it to be that tall. I don't think I can make it tall enough to have a card there. Grab something as an example really quick here. If I put... Oh, I totally could! Oh, that... Maybe. If it goes like that. Oh, wow. Okay. That's really nice. So I could have this be tall enough that it can protect the cards that are on top of it, in addition to having it to be tall enough to fit the power supply under. That rocks. In that case, I think I want to put this on next, or at least have it loose in there, so I can get an idea of how I want to space all that out. There we go. I should have realized, as I was describing that before, if I do this, then it will just stand up and I can just put them like that. Okay, now the next thing I need to put in there is the power supply, really. Let's actually start making this a proper build here. And again, I do have that issue. That's really dumb. Alright, let me go get something to cut that. I feel like I only ever do really stupid things with these cutters, but oh well. There we are. I don't think that was enough. Ooh, actually I can make that work. Alright, let's do that. Not super thrilled that this is only held in with 2 screws. Feels a little like extra garbage, even for something like this. Why is it showing it going over the fan area? Wait a minute, it won't fit on those, will it? Oh man, that'd be hilarious if I cut off that thing for nothing. Oh, that's how it goes. So, oops, that makes more sense. Alright. So I want to mount this on this corner right here. There we go. Alright. I want to mount it slightly down because I want to be able to easily route the cables through here to reach out to the motherboard. And that'll give me very easy access by having it float in the middle. Come on, get on there. Oh, you're kidding me! I gotta get a macro of this. Alright, here's a Phillips bolt head. Nothing too different or unique. That one is full. The driver can't go into it. There's metal in the way. Okay, now that that idiocy is solved, move these all out of the way here. I can put the power supply in place. Oh, I'm so much happier that this is metal and not acrylic. I mean, even if it's not like super nice metal, it feels way better. All right, it's starting to come together now. Okay, what's the next step? I guess really I'm at the point where I'm just going to start bolting stuff on. Not a whole lot else to do. So let me start figuring out how and where I want to mount peripherals. The drive arrangement's looking a little trickier than I thought it was going to be. There's just not quite as much space as I was really hoping for. So I'm still figuring that out. The biggest problem is 2 5 1/4 inch drives. I won't have 2 CD drives, but fitting those in there securely is proving to be a challenge. But I do know where the dual card bracket's going. This should be pretty obvious. Actually, I should have known this from the start. It's going to be right back here. Come on, get in there. Bingo. That needs loosened a little. Because that's compatible, and backwards, with both AT and ATX type motherboards. That space is never used for anything. So that just makes the most sense. That'll be perfect. And again, I need that for stuff like this. So that I can mount this in there and have, well, ports. Because, like, the motherboards, again, they don't have squat. So, if I put this in there and then I want, like, serial, I either have to add a card or a motherboard like the other one here has a bunch of headers on it in this area. So I'll put this in here, and then I can have PS2 and serial in this case, and I'll just mount it right there. And I'll probably leave this particular one in there as a universal one, because pretty much anything I put in there could take advantage of that. But yeah, that makes the most sense. Okay, it's been a few days, and I've ordered a bunch of stuff and made some changes here. So let's start going what all I'm going to be doing here. There is kind of a lot. So, all right, let's start off with power supply having been removed here. So the power supply goes back there, and that's mounted on the outside of that back rail, so it can't go any farther back. And I was trying to come up with a way of mounting in the 3.5 inch drive and 5 1/4 inch drives. Now the 5 1/4 inch drives are really deep. They go past the depth of the power supply. The 3.5-inch drive, though, almost sort of doesn't. Just depends on how it mounts. And I decided that putting these L brackets on the side here and connecting it to the underside of that worked out really well, except it still pushes right up against that. So I decided to order some new rails here. And I ordered some more 300 millimeter rails that I can put on there to increase the depth of the chassis. So I got 4 of those, and I'm going to replace these 2 and then add some more down here because it's a little wobbly still. So that'll really sure up this thing. So I intentionally got silver because I think the silver and black look is going to be pretty sweet on there. So I got that and these. Now, mounting the 3.5-inch drive like this, I think it's going to work out really well, but I had an evolution of that idea. They're not delivered yet. They will be here at some point today while I'm working on this, but I ordered some 3.5-inch to 5.25-inch brackets. They're just a C-shaped bracket, and I'm going to mount that to the side of this rail, and then I should be able to just screw this in like normal as it would if you were installing it into the bracket. So that solves 3.5-inch drives. Now, 5.25-inch drives are a whole other level of difficult to install here. So I've been experimenting with different ideas, like getting some of these L brackets, putting them there, and then, whoops, having the drive hang down and be installed like that. And that could work. It wouldn't be bad. It would make changing these very difficult, which is something that I'm a bit more likely to do. There's not too many different kinds of 3.5-inch drives that I'd really want to put in here. So I did some searching and found that this is a thing. This is a 5.25-inch dual ODD optical disc drive bracket by Fantex for one of their, I assume, modular cases, and it looks like this. And wouldn't you know it, that it just fits brilliantly right there. And what's awesome about this is that since it's like an actual finished product, when I put the drives in there, it just lines up with all the holes really nice. Now that I have these, which were just delivered moments ago, I'm going to tear this thing apart, which will give me these rails back, and then I'm going to start playing around with some different layouts of the chassis. But I'm excited with the new options I have here. Okay, new rails installed. They're not necessarily in their final positions, but that is way better. It's so much more rigid now, just by adding these 2 beams. It's not even all really that tightened yet, but it feels much more solid. I really, really like this solution for adding those. Let's see how much space we have now between the power supply and a 3.5-inch drive that's facing the front. Oh, so much space. That's all, look at that. That's all space that didn't exist before. That's way, way better. Yeah, that was worth the time and monetary investment for that solution. I'm going to be changing out which motherboards I put in here. So I just done a quick alignment with the 8088 board, but I'm not going to use that. Instead, I decided, because I want to be able to test 8-bit ISA cards, I'm going to be using this motherboard, which has a single 8-bit slot, but it does have an 8-bit slot. And that will go in there instead. And this has, actually all of the same bolt holes as the 8088 board, if I remember correctly. But this is actually a brand new motherboard that I got at a thrift store because, you know, that's just where you normally find these things. Because I'm also going to be using this board, which has also been on camera. This came from Brian the electrician. And this is a Pentium 166, if I remember correctly. And I'm going to be going with this one because, what was the difference here? Oh yeah, the bolt holes actually line up with this. That other board doesn't. Also, VLB, I didn't mention that. Yeah, it's a VLB board, which I've never played around with, so I'm kind of excited about that. And another reason I'm glad I have the manual, but these two boards will be the ones that are primarily going in here. This one will go in here first since it's ready to rock. And yeah, I'll probably do a video on setting up this board because I've never configured jumpers on a 486 board before, and I'm going to be going real slow as I read through that manual on how to do it because you send the wrong voltages to the wrong chip and boom, done. So let's see. Oh, I also need to mount this and readjust those rails. So I'm just going to do some more fiddly construction-y type stuff here. Yeah, check back in with you in a moment. Okay, I have the power supply moved over to the other side, the drive cage mounted here now, so let's see how well the cables reach. Oh, that is totally not an issue at all. Yeah, those will plug in just fine. Cool, okay, and yeah, there's still slack, so that won't be an issue. Sweet, that's a perfect solution then. So 3.5-inch drives can still be mounted hanging off of that. I'm still waiting for that part to be delivered. But yeah, that is starting to come together. Look at how awesome that 5.25-inch bay is. That rocks. It hangs a little. I mean, it sags a tiny bit, but I'm happy with that. That works. I need to put some mounts in place. Now, I'd had them right here a moment ago before I put this here, but I want to use this SD to IDE adapter, and I'm going to just mount it with these. It works perfectly. Just go straight through. I'm going to mount it underneath like that so that I can just pop an SD card in there super easily. Yeah, should work great. I might want to wait on that now that I think about it until I get those 3.5-inch drive things. So maybe I'll just spend some time realigning some stuff until that gets here. Okay, it's a few days and many cups of coffee later, but I think I have all the parts for this now. The last one finally came in. This is the power switch for that AT PSU. Now, this is a fairly typical power switch, even though that one came from China. It's actually the same power switch as other vintage ones that I have here. So it was totally standard. So that means I was able to replace it. And I ordered some rather interesting switches here. And I will now have a giant paddle switch on this thing. Oh, yes. This absolutely needed that. Now, mounting for this is going to be incredibly important because of the way that this switch works and why we want it in here. We want it because it sounds awesome, but it sounds even better when it's mounted very solidly to the frame. So without and with mounting. Being able to reverberate through the chassis really amplifies and enhances the sound. So this thing needs to be mounted really solidly. Now, it has these handy mounting tabs, but unfortunately, let me grab a loose one here so don't strain the wires constantly. Unfortunately, there's no real good way of mounting this without like drilling holes in the aluminum, which I'm not above, but I'd rather not. So I've been looking at all of my options here, like even the mounting L-shaped things. I'll just do it here. Really don't get, oh, you know, actually that kind of works. Ooh, let me see if there's a way of mounting it from behind. That would be totally fine. Yeah, because if I could do, oh, that would absolutely work. That would look really good too. Okay, so if I can figure out a way of mounting it like that, that would be perfect. Okay, I'm gonna play around with everything here, like just right there. Ooh. And then one right there going to, oh man, let's do this. That's gonna work. Yeah, this came out amazing. I am super happy with that. It looks way better integrated in than I thought I could possibly do, especially with all metal. No 3D printing required. Oh, that rocks. I could do that all day. And if I wear it out, I got more. That switch came out so good. Oh, yeah. Now for 3.5-inch drives. Somewhere buried deep within the recesses of my storage unit existed this. This is a 3.5-inch drive cage, and this is just something you can't get anymore. I tried to find one like this on eBay and on Amazon, and these just don't exist. This was perfect. I wanted this, but with 3.5-inch, and it just can't find it. Not possible. So I had to dig this out, which is the only one I have, but it's perfect. I super lucked out. So how I'm going to do this is I'm just going to drop it right here, and those hooks like go perfectly on there. I mean, that almost couldn't be designed any better. And then I'm going to use one of the L brackets into the top drive slot there, and then that will give me, I believe, 3 drive slots. Let me try an actual 3.5-inch floppy here. That'll give me 3 slots that I can use for drives on this thing, which is perfect. Now, they're meant to go all the way back, so that's less ideal, but I can pull them about this far forward, and then the rear screw lines up with a hole there, so I can actually have them be flush with the 5.25-inch drives. So, yeah, that's going to be the solution for 3.5-inch drives. So I'm very happy with that solution. I'm disappointed that I couldn't find a new one, though, because this now becomes the only vintage part that I cannot recommend a replacement for. I was trying to make this so I could put together a bomb so everybody could build one of these if they really wanted to, but I don't have a good solution for this. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to recommend these because these will work. So you mount the drive onto here, and then you can use these holes on the bottom and then mount it to the side of the rail like that. That totally works, but I don't want to do that if I can avoid it, because for the most part, I'm going to use it in this orientation. So that is, this is my best solution. So yeah, I'm going to do that. For now, though, I need to go get this cleaned up, and then I have an idea. And I'm glad that idea turned out well, because I can't exactly go back now. I wanted this to look like another new component in here, so I painted it black, and yeah, I'm happy with that. I really like this contrast with the disk drives over here, where it's the silver parts that go into it, and yeah, I think that looks pretty good, although I probably don't want to do that yet, because the paint's still a little tacky, and yeah, just scratched it, but that's just gonna happen with this, because I'm gonna actually use it. But yeah, the outside looking black, I really like the look of that. Okay, it's been a whole day now. This is looking dry. There's a couple of scratches and some runs in the paint, but frankly, I don't really care all that much. I just wanted it to not stick out like a sore thumb in there. That looks really good. I'm super happy with that. So let's go ahead and get in there and start attaching this. And that's it. 3.5-inch drive bracket is very securely mounted. Wow, that is strong. All right, and just a quick test here. Oh. That is so solid. Yeah, that rocks. Oh yeah, I do need to still mount the SD to IDE adapter. I was going to mount it along the underside of here, but there's nowhere for that now. That's gonna be a little tricky. I really don't like it, but it would actually be incredibly practical to mount it right here. I just wanted to be able to access it from the front, but it's not like it's that much more work to just reach over to the side. But putting it here would get the connector right next to the IDE connector for the CD drives, so maybe I should just do that. That would kind of make my life easier. All right, this piece is in place, but still needs tightened, but I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to do my final pass on all the fasteners on here to make sure that this is fully assembled exactly how I want. I need to put this on there so these are all the same height. But this should be the final step because everything is now in place. So it's just getting it all tightened and put together. Okay, now that this is done and ready to go, let's try putting our first system in here. So this is the Socket 7 board that I was given by Brian the electrician, and I'm going to get this up and running in here. So I have actually removed the heatsink and the processor because I needed to look at what the voltage is just to make sure that it was set correctly, and it actually was, so I would have been fine. There was not a thermal compound on here, which probably wouldn't have been an issue. I mean, it's just a Pentium. The one in my tiny Pentium is way worse, but we'll go ahead and put some on there anyway. But turned out this was a 200 megahertz MMX, so this is actually way, way faster than I thought it was going to be. So that's going to be cool. Let's go ahead and put the chip in. You don't have to worry about orientation on these because there's one pin missing. It's pretty much impossible to screw this up. Go ahead and drop that in there, and then we will clean that now that it's on the socket. This is a little thing that I filled with 91% isopropanol. So I can just get a little bit here, clean that off. Go ahead and do the other surface on the heatsink as well. I'm going to be using Noctua stuff from a new computer build that I did for myself that I never actually made a video about because it was a horrible nightmare. There! Good grief. Almost wish I hadn't mounted it for that, but there we go. That's on. Thermal pasted. It was 2.8 volts. I have the part number. It was a SY060, if I remember correctly. So I do know that it's configured correctly for voltage. It's also really good to have known because it's the lowest voltage on there. So any other voltage would have been wrong. Okay, let's give this the first fire test. So I have the monitor here. This is going through KVM, so I may have to push some buttons back there before this will actually switch over to this, but there's that. That was just a coincidence. Here's power. And then for a keyboard, I'm not actually going to use these yet, but I did grab a keyboard here. This, I believe, is AT. I can't imagine this ergonomic keyboard being XT, so let's go ahead and just do this. There we go. That's it. I should just have to flip the switch. Come on, video. I will have to push the buttons, I think. Ah! Got it! There we go! Video! Excellent! Okay. Hey. Okay. That switch was worth a lot of money. That was worth it. I didn't pay a lot of money, but oh man, if I'd... Oh, it's so worth it. Who needs stupid push buttons? Psst, why would you want that? Okay, yep, 200 megahertz, good. Tiny Pentium did not register 200 megahertz initially because of different wrong settings, so that's good to see. Looks like 64 megabytes of memory. Yep, okay, that's totally fine. CMOS settings wrong, let's go in there. Keyboard's working. That is an interesting BIOS. Oh, whoa, that's cool! Look at the Windows 3.1.1 BIOS. Holy moly! That is super cool. Wow. Okay. Well, it's working. Let's go ahead and put in the drives now and hook up the SD card thing. And then just boot, I guess. Oh, that's awesome. Let me get it hooked back up and try firing it up. Should seek this one, then that one now. Score. And it's making an attempt. I don't remember what that one was now. I want to say, oh, Windows 1. All right, that works. Why not? Okay, it'll boot. That's really all I wanted to verify. Okay, I've had a couple of quirks I needed to sort out. So that first disk drive I put in there is apparently seized and would not eject the tray. So I put in another one that had the same problem. And both of these are belt-driven CD drives. So I put in one that is instead a direct drive. Hey, you hear that noise? Gear whine. That's not going to have any issues. That'll just power through anything. Probably need to start making it a habit to take apart CD drives and clean and relubricate them, because apparently that's going to be a problem now, at least for the ones I have, which have been stored fairly well. But anyway, since this thing went ahead and not mulched my boot disk there, I'm going to go ahead and use the actual Windows 98 boot disk that came from my sealed copy of Windows 98, and we're going to install that on an SD card in that adapter. I've already connected all of the IDE stuff, which was another fun experience because the IDE cables were like just the right length to suck for this, but I got it solved. It was not worth filming, so we can go ahead and begin the install now, though. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, I like that. It is peppy. I suspect it'll automatically close it. Yep. Okay, let's go ahead and quit. So we need to do fdisk. Okay, now let's see what we have for partitions. Oh, okay. Create DOS partition, primary. Yes, I want to use the whole... Okay, that's weird. Okay, I'm going to give the installer a little bit of a pass. That memory card was formatted for use with a Raspberry Pi, which means it had all sorts of weird partition structures and partition types on it, and DOS doesn't really like that, so... Alrighty. There's that super loud disk drive again. 52X is pretty fast, so I guess that's not too surprising. Also helps it's not in a case. This thing is pretty loud overall. Ugh, finally. Had to go delete the partitions again, create an fdisk, then try to install Windows 98, have it fail, and let it format it with the GUI, because there's no format command in this. Just, ugh, why? Anyway, let's get going. Alrighty, actual progress. I wonder how long this is going to take with that ridiculously fast and loud CD drive. Anyway, from here, this is just Windows 98 install, so I'll cut back once it's actually up and running. All right, there we go, Windows 98. We have a functional computer. Looks like it's all working well here. I can access the disk drive. I need to test the 5¼ inch drive there. Let me see if I can do that. I have some disks here. This one is a 1.2 meg disk. Let's see if that works. Perfect. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so that's good. That's good. Disk drive's good. Computers good. Motherboard, all that stuff. So we're ready to rock. Oh, it's done. It's nice. Oh, man, I've been working on this thing for weeks. That feels good to have it be done. Okay, now that it is done, I have one thing that I want to test with it, and it's this. This is a compact flash to IDE adapter, but it actually holds 2 compact flash cards, and I want to put this in my tiny Pentium because that would be awesome. But I've never used it before, so I want to try it out, and this thing is the perfect candidate for that. So let me shut this down here, and we can plug it in and find out if it works. All right, now this adapter actually gets its power from a floppy power connector on here, and this is probably the one time I won't complain that it's a floppy power connector, because this is really, really small form factor and totally different than any kind of hard drive, because we're actually just gonna plug it right in to the motherboard, and that's it. You don't need a cable or anything, and it's going to handle the master and slave configuration for the IDE devices just like that. So that kind of makes sense, and yeah, that's it. Okay, this is a really simple device to test. I didn't want to tear apart the Tiny Pentium just to find out if it did or didn't work for some reason, so that's why I wanted a test bench for that, but I have so many devices that I needed a test bench for, so this is just going to be the tip of the iceberg. All right, we can verify the functionality of that thing in multiple phases. So first off, I can see all the lights are on in there. It's really going to be far away and tiny for the camera, but we can go into BIOS here. Oh, okay, that's cool. The mouse also has a tail. It's wiggling. That's dumb. Oh, man. Oh, sweet. Okay. It's just gonna work. Oh, that's awesome. All right, so let's get into Windows and just verify the drives are there. I think they're already formatted as FAT32 because I popped them into a memory card reader just to make sure that the eBay seller I bought the cards from had actually wiped them. The files weren't there, but the cards were clean, so at least there was that. You would not believe the things that I've found on people's computers that they just don't even realize. You have no idea how lucky you are when a vintage computer person buys your old hardware, because we don't want your old data and just want the devices themselves. Perfect. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, okay, we can see right here, nothing. So, but yeah, that's already formatted. Okay, wow, that rocks. Okay, so that thing's going to be super nice in the Tiny Pentium, and it works, and I was able to verify that on my test bench. So I think that is it for now. There's tons of stuff I could do with this from here. This is a whole computer. I mean, I could throw any card in there. I actually found recently, through more storage diving, I actually found another Aureal Vortex. This is an 8820 B2, so not as good as the one that I put in the Tiny Pentium, but it's fully capable here. We got the wavetable header and all the CD audio things and a bent capacitor I'd like to straighten. So I would like to test this out, make sure that it still works, and then I can use this to try out the other wavetable cards. So yeah, that's super handy. And I can just put it in here and not worry about messing up the sound drivers on one of my other computers. It's gonna be so nice to have a test bench. Oh man, I'm so excited. My next step is definitely, though, going to be to take the card out now and go copy all of the files onto a modern system so that I can back this thing up and then reset it whenever I want, so I can monkey with stuff, break the operating system, and then just get a save state back to functional, basically. That's another reason I'm really excited for this, because this computer is never going to be used for anything on a regular basis other than random stuff. So I don't need to have games, I don't need to have software, I don't need any of that. This can just be whatever, whenever. Oh, this is going to be nice. If you enjoyed this video, this thing is definitely going to be coming back a lot on the channel in the future, so you might want to subscribe to see more of it. If you want to support the channel, I am on Patreon, but for now, that's it, and I already know what the first thing I'm going to be testing with this, and it's the SCSI 2 SD, so I can actually try out installing an operating system with it over SCSI. So if you want to see that, stay tuned, but that is it for now, and I'll see you later.